Welcome. We are visiting the values of Constitution of India. The project conceived is to chase the history of judicial setup of state of Haryana. The discussion during the previous sessions are focusing upon the human factor. Here in this context now, we shall visit the concept of law literacy. Most of the difficulties being faced are because of illiteracy. Law literacy is the phenomenon which is practically being ignored these days. Proper focus is not upon law literacy. We had seen that we, the people of India, has adopted and given to ourselves a constitution which in the preamble itself provides for justice, political, social, and economic. What precisely this domain is, under which apparatus this is to be discharged, how political justice, social justice, and economic justice is to be ensured. For it, the foundational level, panchayat, local bodies may be taken as the institutions in terms of which the ordinary citizens have to have the values of political, social, and economic justice. But for these local bodies, the citizens are practically having no other intimate approach at institutional level to visualize and to comprehend and to achieve this justice, political justice, social justice, and economic justice are practically just the words from the constitutional text. If we enter upon the substantive provisions of the Constitution of India, then there is a provision for the judicial courts. However, as far as the justice of political, social, and economic values are concerned, about it as such, there is no constitutional apparatus, though the sovereignty stands divided into the legislative, executive, and judicial sovereignty domains. The concept deserves to be revisited. These values deserve to be revisited. This preamble as it is, and this adaptation for justice, political, social, and economic, we have to rethink. We have to revisit the classical constitutional jurisprudential values as these were prior to the commencement of the Constitution of India. As such, cannot be the yardstick, cannot be the touchstone for appreciating this document. This lively document is enshrining absolutely different setup of institutions. The institutions which we were having prior to independence, prior to this constitution, are no answer for the new values which are enshrined here. Let us think that what this justice on political, social, and economic front is concerned. particularly the social domain, economic domain, and political domain, then we can at the most say that legislature will think for us and our participation simply remains as one-time voting. So once we vote, and then it is as if that we are absolutely not involved in the process. There is a need for new setup of institutions, and for it let us start from our panchayats and local bodies. The condition at present in state of Haryana at least is that minimum education qualification for one to be aspirant for being a member of the panchayats is class 10 level education. Now, one person with this background standing elected as member of the panchayat for say 3 years term, then what this member will have the growth during these 3 years. I think there is a need for emphasizing particular proper institutional educational programs. These should be of the formal nature. As we provide 3 years courses of the graduation level, these should be opened. These should be designed afresh. There should be a specific degree course for this class of authorities, members of the panchayats and local bodies. If this term of a member of a panchayat is properly institutionalized, we can certainly literate them and make them graduates. The rural administration, the needs of our rural economy, the social needs, the political needs, and other connected responsibilities vested in the panchayats and expected from the members of the panchayats can be properly discharged only if the members are made literate. What type of literacy is to be there for the members of panchayat and local bodies is the question which we shall pose to ourselves. Then with it, we can imagine as to the litigations, the ordinary litigations, the litigations between two individuals, the type of litigations we at present are adjudicating under civil and criminal law in our judicial courts, how much distortions happen to be there in respect of, in terms of a particular individual citizen's litigation remains vibrating in the social fabric, in the small social groups, in the villages, in the panchayat domains, how to absorb them, how to deal with them, how to meet their adverse effects, etc., is the domain which comes with the legal literacy programs. However, at present, everything is uninstitutionalized. It is the constitutional responsibility. We have ensured justice, political, social, and economic. But we have not emphasized any institutional apparatus. Who is at present responsible for this domain under the Constitution is the question which shall confront us. We shall think, we shall revisit the values of the Constitution, and let us find an answer as to how we have provided that we are ensuring justice, political, social, and economic for every citizen of India, but whether we have emphasized any apparatus, whether we have specifically entrusted these responsibilities to any setup of institutions other than having creation of the legislatures and the judicial courts for the private litigants. Our courts at present under the civil and criminal procedure courts are meant for the individual litigations between two individuals or two litigating parties. The questions of political justice, the questions of social justice, the questions of economic justice, the questions of progress, etc., are the questions which cannot enter the present judicial court's domains. No individual has any say in the legislative discussions. Powers executive certainly is at highly different platform. Once this is the situation, once this is the scenario, then we as lawyers, we as students of law, we as law analysts shall have the responsibility to revisit this domain. And in this context, we may start with the existing apparatus at foundation level of the panchayats and local bodies, how these local bodies can be approached afresh for their powers, for their functions, for their responsibilities, and how the members of these institutions are to be made literate, how they can be put under institutional frame for their education, for providing them the sufficient intellectual and other information, data, and potentialities. It is only by thinking of solutions out of the box, it is only by having a fresh approach, it is only by having a revisit to demarcation of the sovereignty that we may have the values of the Constitution to be lively in their performance. One way will be that let us create, say, a university or a setup of universities, and that university shall be exclusively devoted for having this domain of literacy, so that the institutions at the foundation level of the nature of panchayat and local bodies can be put on educational, intellectual, progressive path. Let us take an illustrative case. A villager, a matriculate stands elected as a member of a panchayat. He has, say, 3 years term. During these 3 years, if it be taken that he is to devote his complete potentialities domain for the progress of the village itself, then whether in the context of the present frame of his duties, functions as a member of a panchayat, can his full time can be utilized at all. If the time of such member can be put under different discipline, if he is simultaneously made a student of a properly designed course for him, if he is put under a discipline of a course for a period of 3 years, which otherwise will also make him a graduate, and this graduation, if it is properly tailored, can be of the nature of a rural development graduate. Like that, we have to rethink as to how and in which form we can have our foundational level constitutional apparatus for political justice, for social justice, and economic justice. Unless and until we will be having proper attention for having revisit to our existing constitutional apparatus, we cannot feel satisfied that we are having constitutional responsibility discharge as far as this domain is concerned. Like that, there are other domains as well which deserve revisit, but I think the first and primary start shall be with this domain as to how the foundation level institutions like panchayat and local bodies can be potentialized literacy wise as well. It is this aspect which will help us to revisit as to why many of the litigations of the individuals will get prolonged for years and years. This litigation menace can be met only with the law literacy. The bar councils can also design and have a setup of institutions for law literacy. We are having very large number of young advocates. They can be put upon such a responsibility if the talent of the young lawyers is properly exploited, then we can have proper law literacy for every citizen. Law literacy has great promise. It is in terms of this index that we can have our ideal expectation of the judicial system under the Constitution of India. Let us think, let us revisit, let us appreciate, and let us come out with our own designs for such model. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.